anyway. It should not be something special to work towards a more diversified program, or be it with regarding gender or race. But I guess in an intermediary phase, this is still something that has to be put more clearly and strongly out there in order to be visible as a problematic. And from that on, hopefully, one can move into a changed, habit, and changed sense of what belongs into this world, and which parts of the world are part of the music, contemporary music environment.
Well, this is why I think it's been great to do this right now during my residency at the Wissenschaftskolleg, because there's just this extraordinary brain trust of people, some of whom we'll be on panels with during the Music period. You know, the day in which we're going to be talking about Afro-diasporic experimentalisms and identity and the diaspora and the contemporary. And there are people here who think very deeply about these things, and I've been able to forge some really great contacts with them. Minu Harjoman, theater scholar, Christo Fricke, the philosopher, and also working with the people at Savvy, like Arlette Louise and Ndikoze. And so it's an incredible opportunity right here in Berlin right now. And I've always wanted to, live in Berlin for a while. And even with the pandemic, it's still amazing that we're able to do this and bring all these different visions together. So yeah, that's very exciting for me.
Absolutely. Maybe one question that is interesting to me in the context of the festival and its ongoing investigation into the politics of time, due to circumstances, last year's edition that was focusing on the notion of the beginning of time and narratives that instigate, or this obsession with beginnings, origins, and so on. This edition was cancelled and now is, so to speak, falling together with the pre-planned festival edition on the end of time. And obviously there is a lot of end time thought, end time discourse, end time thinking that is linking to a long tradition of Christianity's apocalyptic cult, that is basically a cult of the end of time. Now, the idea of the festival is not to focus on that kind of defuturing or decapacitating space, but rather to render visible this narrative that is deeply embedded in people's thinking and has a big impact on a certain culture's relation to future and to futurity. I think all this, when it comes to time concepts being also a tool of coloniality, is very much related to what we are talking about, specific notions of time and a certain notion of the contemporary, who is part of it, who has the claim to be in this old avant-garde-like idea of being ahead of one's time and all that. My question to you would be regarding future, and also it's a personal question. How do you perceive this pandemic experience in relation to what we can, how we can relate to future? Yes, that would be a question that is on my mind.
Yeah, it's been on my mind quite a bit too. I mean, the end times narrative, I mean, it sort of brings up uncomfortable references, such as Fukuyama's end of history thesis, which ends up being just neoliberalism's use of the end times for its own purposes. But I think there is really a sense that we're at a tipping point, certainly in the US with what happened with the election, and other places where suddenly today on the news I saw that the Armenian capital was overrun by protesters. And my first thought was, well, wow, I guess if you saw that on television in the US, that you can do it, we can do it too, And so in that sense, we're going to be seeing things that were formerly thought of, at least we're all past that now. And so, but I don't see that as being dystopian or, I don't see that as being and end time, I sort of see it in a funny way. What comes up in my mind is the phrase from Nietzsche, which I don't have the German for, but was the transvaluation of all values. And that seems to be where we're headed, where a lot of the eternal verities get challenged, and we're in a position of change, a kind of interregnum, I would say, on a grand scale. And I like interregnum because that's where change can really occur. That's what I was thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a longer talk. I think also, in a way, it's hard somehow to focus, but nevertheless important, I believe, to focus on um, that which this current state that comes with a lot of suffering, um, what that kind of time also brings as, potential and chances. And I feel that this deep unsettling of um, certain mindsets, of routines, um, does really have the potential to shake up things and appear in context not yet foreseen as a movement that can maybe be of service to to much needed change, and that ripples through different contexts. One of which might be the experimental music world that we are now part of in this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think I've learned from you, actually, and particularly in defragmentation, when you, especially when you did the panels with Rolando Vasquez and also Bonaventura and Deacon, was to, and I've asked this question always. My first question is, what does it sound like? Or what's it going to sound like? And as a composer, I have to think about that. And also as a person that writes computer programs, I also have to always think, what is this going to sound like? Or how is it going to react in this situation? And to pose alternative futures and possibilities, with the idea that nothing is really fixed and we don't know what the future can hold. So we have to try to plan for different kinds of possibilities. And even then, the planning is itself a grand improvisation, as I look at it.
Mm.
So I'm asking always, I guess you talked about that outer national thing, article, which is what's a decolonized music or music world going to sound like? And that's going to be very different because there are going to be lots of decolonized lives. So we're going to have lots of different decolonized musics and therefore lots of decolonized sounds. And so that means we don't really know. But it's odd to be striving towards something that we don't really know what's going to happen in the end. It's more a question of we know what's happening now and we know we can do better. So let's just see what's possible.
And let's stay on it.
Yeah, stay on, as Julius would say.
Exactly. George, I'm looking forward tremendously to see you live. We'll be in touch very soon again without microphone recording our conversation.
Great, so see you soon and take care.
Take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.